Have you fallen out of love with your research? Are you really struggling to motivate yourself to work on it and you're just not feeling it anymore? If this is you, you are not alone. This is something that happens to most postgraduate researchers and indeed most academics. And I actually think it's a bit weird when somebody doesn't experience this at least once in their academic lives. So just please be assured, this is completely normal. And it is not the precursor to a full-blown existential crisis, so please don't worry about that. But at the same time, when you are experiencing this, it kind of sucks. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at why we fall out of love with our research and what we can do about it when that does happen. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Yardley, and I've spent 20 years supporting postgraduate students, and in that time I have seen all kinds of love-hate relationships with research in my students, in my colleagues, and 100% in myself. I understand exactly how this feels and the amount of anxiety that it can cause, so let me put your mind at rest and give you some things that you can do to change the way that you're thinking about it and help you feel a bit more motivated. In this video, I'm going to be explaining why we fall out of love with our research, and I'm going to give you 4 things to do to get through it. So first up, why does it happen? Well, to be perfectly frank, reality bites. You know, when you get past that initial surge of excitement and enthusiasm about your research and you get into the mundane lived realities of actually carrying the research out, you can tend to feel a little bit deflated. Literature reviews are difficult. You go round in circles figuring out what to include and how to structure it. Recruiting participants to your study can be tough. Finding the people and the documents and the materials that you need to access is not easy. And often when the initial plan that you came up with to make those things happen doesn't work out, it can be really disheartening. Bureaucracy. Universities, colleges, research institutes are these large, creaking bureaucracies, and sometimes the research process itself can just feel like wading through mud. Getting ethical approval for your research, accessing funding to go to a conference or to buy some vouchers or incentives for your participants can actually be something that takes an incredibly long time. And you fill in a form and you fill in another form and you fill in another form, and you just become so kind of beaten down by it all. Your supervisors as well, and it very much depends on the kind of relationship that you have with them, but often when students start submitting written work to supervisors to receive feedback on, if those supervisors have a tendency to just focus on the negative and the things that need improving, and they don't really spend any time congratulating you and saying, hey, you did this really well, that can become quite crushing as well, and that can really take the shine off your initial enthusiasm and energy. Postgraduate and doctoral life can be lonely, especially if your friends and family don't quite get it, they don't quite understand what you're doing, and you can end up feeling like you are fighting this battle all on your own. All of these factors can lead to you feeling really ick and really demotivated when it comes to your research, and sometimes you'll find yourself thinking, why am I even bothering? And on top of that, the guilt sets in and you start to feel bad about having fallen out of love with your research, because you tell yourself you should be really grateful that you got onto this doctoral program or you secured this bursary, and it just becomes this wheel that sort of runs and runs and runs on by itself. So how do you get off this Ferris wheel of doom? Well, I think there are 4 things you can do. Firstly, you need to connect with your peers. As I said at the beginning of this video, you are not alone. Most postgraduate and doctoral students feel this way at some point during their research journey. So you need to connect with people who are going through what you are going through. And the first place to look is your own institution, your own college or your own university. Look at what postgrad or doctoral events they've got going on where you can go and meet other research students. Now, if you look at the events and all of that kind of thing that your university puts on for postgraduate researchers and none of it really floats your boat, why not set up your own? Think about establishing a coffee and rant morning every second Thursday or something like that. Take it into your own hands, take the initiative. Also, look online. look for Facebook groups and Instagram accounts and YouTube channels. There are absolutely lots of people out there who are documenting their journey through the postgraduate and the doctoral process. And when you look at some of the things that they're sharing online, you will feel a lot less alone. You'll be like, oh, thank goodness it's not just me. They feel that way too. Sometimes simply the knowledge that other people are experiencing what you're experiencing is enough to help you feel less alone. And if you feel comfortable in doing so, like and comment on people's videos and people's posts and get a conversation going, because this is a really good way of making friends and building your own network. This can be particularly valuable if your friends and family don't get it, if you come from a community where you are the first person in that community to get a PhD or to study at master's level, and there's no one in your own personal network who really truly understands. It can be so powerful to make new connections with other people who are probably experiencing exactly the same thing. I run a power hour on Zoom at the end of every month for the degree doctor community, and we all come together and we reflect on how the last month has gone, and we plan for the next month, and people make comments in the chat and share their ideas and their thoughts and their experiences. And that can be something that makes you feel less alone just in and of itself, just reading what other people are putting in there. So if you're interested in coming to join us for the next one, check out the details in the description. I'll put some info in there. The second thing that you can do is revisit your why. Sit down and write about why you started this journey in the first place. Was it because you wanted to change something? You wanted to discover something? You wanted to make a difference to a particular group of people? You wanted to be a role model for other people in your community? You wanted to solve a problem? Reconnecting with our original drivers and our original motivations can be a really helpful thing to do, because we often lose sight of that big picture stuff when we are caught up in the weeds of research, when we're doing our analysis, when we're stuck on our literature review. We can often forget why we're doing this in the first place. So it can be a really helpful thing to do to just remind ourselves of why we're here. Do this regularly. Make a note to do it once a month or once every couple of months. Actually make an appointment with yourself in your calendar to do this. And when you're doing it, when you're writing down what those original drivers and motivations are, take a picture of that. You know, keep that on your phone, keep it somewhere where you're going to see it and you're going to be able to refer to it. So every time you're feeling a bit like meh, you can get that out and you can look at it and you can remind yourself of why you're on this journey. My third tip is to take a break, like a proper break, because burnout is a massive issue in postgraduate students. And if you are constantly going at it, you're going to wear yourself out. It makes you inefficient as well, because when you're tired, you're not going to be as on the ball. Things are going to take you longer. Doing anything non-stop, even if it's something that you love, that is a really good way to kill your passion for it. So stop now. Have a proper rest. Maybe think about taking a few days annual leave from your job, or just going off the grid for a week. You need to reconnect with the person that you are outside of your degree and outside of your work. You are more than your master's or your PhD, and you are more than your job. You are you, okay? And sometimes we need to rediscover who we are. And one of the most important things that we can do when we're on this kind of stage in our journey is going back and revisiting things that have just kind of fallen away. Those activities that we've just given up because we didn't have time or couldn't get around to them. Things that we used to really enjoy doing and look forward to. I always say when somebody is, overwhelmed and fallen out of love with their research and they decide to take a break, I say to them, hey, during that week, make sure that you go and do something that you haven't done for ages. Something that you used to really enjoy and look forward to. And you'd be amazed at how incredibly transformational that can be. The fourth and final tip that I want to share with you is to reassess your workload and your goals. So when you return from your break, the first thing that you need to do is figure out what changes you need to make to maintain your motivation and to maintain your love for your research. Identify what things you need to be doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis. So things like exercising, journaling, meditating, if that's your jam, regularly reflecting, cooking for yourself. Do you need to have some kind of regular planning and goal setting routine because at the moment you don't have one? I will link to a recent video I made on this up here and in the description. So if that's something that you feel like you need once you come back from having a bit of a rest, check that out. Sometimes the changes that we need to make are quite minor. They're little tweaks, they're little adjustments, and they're quite easy to implement. But also be aware of the bigger changes that you could potentially be making as well. So, for example, is there an option to go part-time in your studies? Is that something that you would consider? If that's something you want to explore, how would you make that happen? So don't lose sight of the fact that you can change the big stuff as well as changing the little stuff. And the last thing that I want to say is do not feel bad about any of this. This is all part of the journey. It's all part of the process. As I've said a couple of times in this video, everybody experiences this at least once in their academic career, if not multiple times. And I speak for myself when I say that. So don't beat yourself up about it. The very fact that you are watching this video shows that you want to do something about it, that you want to rediscover your passion for your research and you want to understand why it's happened. So you're taking action. That is a positive thing. And that's it, we're done. I hope you found this helpful and you at least feel a little less alone now with the whole falling out of love with your research thing. If you're going to implement any of the tips or the advice that I've shared in this video, I would love to know how you've got on. So please do feel free to drop your comments down below in terms of what was helpful, what helped you make progress, was there anything else that you did that other people could try? Please let's all come together on this and share all of our experiences of this, because it is something that is so common, but very few people actually ever talk about it. So let's start talking about it. I'll be back in a few days with another video on all of the ups and downs of postgraduate life and how to navigate these choppy waters. So I hope to see you then.